Who's your commander?
Good luck.
Equip.
Move to combat. Resolves.
Right.
Now, before you attack
Does
me,
anyone have an answer?
well played.
Good game.
Hello everyone, this is Jumbo Commander and it's a wonderful time of year. It's a new set. Ixalan has just been released and I'm really stoked about dinosaurs and pirates, and that's where I'm devoting all of my hype, but it's not where I should be putting my money. With standard rotating, Commander players are going to be able to scoop up some great value. So I'm going to be talking to you about some easy pickups in trade and some places where you might be able to spend a little money so that you save yourself money in the long run. With the introduction of Ixalan, there are going to be 4 sets rotating out. Today we're only focusing on Battle for Zendikar and Oath of the Gatewatch. I'll have a follow-up video out shortly about Shadows over Innistrad and Eldritch Moon. But for now, let's talk about Battle for Zendikar and Oath of the Gatewatch, and how this set financially is something far different than we've seen. And that's because of one thing: the expeditions. The expeditions caused a frenzy of buying and soaked up so much of the money of the set with all of the hype and all of the skyrocketing values of things like the Scalding Tarn in front of you, that it really impacted the whole price of the set. And so you might have noticed a sort of muting effect for all the prices of the mythics and rares that saw a lot of play. So this is a little bit of a unique situation. It's not normal rotation, and I'm excited to explore the finances of it and see what happens in the future. But there's just one thing you have to keep in the back of your head. This set was opened up way more than others, and there are far more copies of these cards out in the world than previous sets. So let's start off with Battle for Zendikar, and the top card in Battle for Zendikar is Ulamog the Ceaseless Hunger. With the banning of Aetherworks Marvel a few months ago, Ulamog did dip a little, but it has settled out at around $10, and this is a good price, especially for a mythic that does see play in other formats, and I have to say how great it is in Commander. The 10 mana is not some ridiculous and impossible casting cost like in other formats where you have to work around it. In Commander, you can hardcast Ulamog. And I have to say that this is a really powerful effect, the Exile 2 permanence. I regularly run Scour from Existence in decks that really need targeted removal, and it's nice to have another effect like that. And for 3 mana more, you get another permanent, you get a 10/10 indestructible that exiles things. I mean, Ulamog is just spectacular. You know, as long as you're exiling cards, you can also buy an Oblivion Sower along with it. You Ulamog someone, then you Oblivion Sower all their lands, amazing. And as long as you're buying Ulamog, just throw in a 40-cent Sanctum of Ugin. You can even sacrifice this land off of the Scour from Existence I mentioned. Our next mythic has to be an example of the depressed pricing. I don't think I've ever seen a powerful extra turn effect coming in at a single $1. Part the Water Veil is 6 mana to take an extra turn, and it has a cool awaken effect that you might never use. But these extra turns are powerful in Commander and popular. Compare it to the $19 Time Warp, and Time Warp is better, costing 1 mana less and not exiling itself, but is it really 19 times better? I don't know, let's get some Part the Water Veils. Next up, we have some super discount mythics, Obnixilis Reignited and Kiora Master of Depths. I don't really like these cards in Commander. I think that they're a little bit vulnerable, they don't impact the board very much, they make yourself a target for attacks, but at $250 a piece, these are some discount Planeswalkers. So if you want to have a cool Planeswalker deck, maybe you have an Atraxa Precon that needs some Planeswalkers in it, and these are some great pickups right now. Another set of cards that's going to be great for Commander are all of the lands. They're all anywhere from 50 cents to $1.50, and I particularly think Shambling Vent and Lumbering Falls are great examples. When building a Commander deck, you always need lands. You just need them, and having a little bit of an extra land boost in your binder before you build is just going to be really great. Or go back and look at your old decks and find out whether you can use a little bit of extra fixing and extra value. Now, there are a few cards that I think are really great buys, but it's not like rotation impacted them that much. They've plateaued at the bottom for a long time. So From Beyond, coming in at 30 cents, has always been 30 cents. Omnath Locus of Rage you can get for 90 cents. Green Warden of Marasa, also 80 cents. These are really powerful cards that have not really affected by standard, but they may start creeping up. I particularly like From Beyond. It's amazing how cheap this card is because the effect is powerful. Adding 1/1s to the board, ramping your mana, being able to tutor all on a single card. I'm just floored by it. I would get some copies of From Beyond. Unfortunately, there's so many of them out there that there's not a lot of movement. I'm not saying you should buy From Beyond because it's going to skyrocket to $5. There hasn't been much movement in the card. I just think it's worth way more than 30 cents and you should just play it in your commander decks. See, that's the trick with a lot of these, is that I don't think that they're going to move very much because there's so many copies of it out there. This is not a guide for making money. This is a guide for getting awesome cards in your commander deck. If there is a card that I think has the potential of making money, I'll let you know. For example, that Ulamog in a couple years will probably be worth a little bit more than $10. But do you know what? Awakening Zones at 30 cents? I'm going to guarantee that in a couple years you double your money at least. See, it's not enough to make the money, man. Magic Finance is tough. You can identify cards, but if they're not the right ones, no matter how much growth they have, they could double and triple, and you're not making as much as a postage stamp to sell it. Oh, man. All right, let's look at a few other cards that are unique and have interesting movement. Drana, Liberator of Malakir, dipped and then came back up again. I think it's particularly good in the Vampire Precon, so maybe it'll settle back down after Vampires settle back down, but Drana's a great card, and at $5 it might be worth it, but I don't think it's its bottom. We also have the most expensive uncommon in the set, Hedron Archive. It dwarfs a lot of rares, and it's worth it. It's a really good card. And I wish that there was more opportunities for Hedron Archive. I don't think it has the reprintability of many other cards like Mind Stone. Mind Stone is just a stone, you know, can be in any set, but Hedron Archive refers specifically to Eldrazi's and Hedrons. So I don't think it can fit into the Dominaria set coming out later. I think you have to have a special set for Hedron Archive to be in it, but it will be reprinted because it's a cool card. Just, they have to find the right set. And I have another Eldrazi, Void Winnower. So Void Winnower is cheap. $2.25 for this powerful of a card is worth a buy, but it has been doing weird things. It is not plateaued. It's gone kind of up and down. So this might be a good time to buy in, but it's definitely got some extra movement on it. I do think that this is a powerful card. So those are the cards I wanted to talk about for Battle for Zendikar. Now I want to focus on Oath of the Gatewatch. And the most expensive card in Oath of the Gatewatch is Kalitas, Trader of Get. Now, Kalitas is an interesting card because it saw a lot of modern play. In fact, Jund decks were playing a single Kalitas, and still 40% of them do, but a lot of them have been taken over by Hazoret. So is this price memory when Kalitas used to be really powerful in modern and now he's phasing out? Will something change in modern so that the exile effect becomes even more powerful? I do know that the exile effect is powerful in Commander. Personally, I've picked up a few copies of Kalitas, but I wouldn't be surprised if this price changes a little bit up and down depending upon the other formats that use Skulldugglers. You know, just like in the last set, we have some very low-priced Planeswalkers, but these ones are a little bit more powerful than Ob Nixilis and Kiora. I really like Nissa, Voice of Zendikar, and I think that she deserves a price higher than $3. I know her and Ob Nixilis got the Battle Pack Dual Combo Clash. They got some promos in a product that brought their prices down a little bit. In fact, this Voice of Zendikar is from that product. But I like Nissa in token decks, I like her in +1/+1 counter decks, and I really like her in +1/+1 counter token decks. That's really good. Chandra Flamecaller is another Planeswalker sitting around $3. And I think we can't ignore this Chandra because it has card draw in red. The 0 ability where you discard all the cards in your hand, then draw that many +1 is a great effect. I mean, Reforge the Soul is getting up there in price, and that used to be the discount way for people to redraw their hands. So if you start off with just the card draw on Chandra, I think that she's playable in some red strategies. And then you add some aggressive 3/1 elementals and maybe a little bit of a selective board wipe, and I think she's a no-brainer in many different situations. I particularly like her in Omnath, Locus of Rage, because she creates elementals, and elementals are awesome. Next, we have an insane blinking master in Eldrazi Displacer, coming in at $2. 2 and a colorless to exile target creature, then return it to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control. Eldrazi Displacer can get you a lot of value in a blink deck, but also is a great combo enabler. Ashnod's Altar goes great with Eldrazi Displacer because if you have any creature that puts multiple bodies onto the battlefield, you can net mana as you flicker it. So for example, a Siege Gang commander, you get infinite goblins and infinite colorless mana. A Drowner of Hope or a Whirler Rogue, all of those can give you tons of mana. It's also a single card combo with Rasputin Dreamweaver. I know you guys were all looking for the Rasputin tech out there, but Eldrazi Displacer is just great. It can get things out of the way, blink your stuff for value, go infinite. It's a fantastic card coming in at $2. World Breaker is $2.50, and this is a recursive exiling monster. Commander has a lot of destroy effects. I mean, this feels a little bit like Acidic Slime, but then you say, well, it comes down a little bit later, but it does different things. For example, World Breaker does it on cast, and so if you need to kill a Torpor Orb or something that blocks enter the battlefield effects, World Breaker has a cast effect, which is very cool. It also exiles, so if you're playing against a bunch of those Theros gods, then that could be really strong as well. World Breaker is also recursive and does shenanigans with lands. So if you're playing a heavy cool lands deck, or you want to be able to recycle your World Breaker, man, it just does so much more than all of its other competition. I also have to mention the lands from this set too. Man, just buy all the lands. Hissing Quagmire, Needle Spires, Wandering Fumarole. They provide fixing, aggression, they let you come back easier from board wipes, just get them. Now there's some lands that I might have to do a little bit more convincing. It's Mirrorpool and Seagate Wreckage. Mirrorpool, a mythic at $1, and Seagate Wreckage at under a quarter are amazing. Let's start with Mirrorpool. Enters the battlefield tapped. Ugh. Creates colorless mana. Okay, this land better be good, and it is. 2 and a colorless to sacrifice Mirrorpool, and you can copy target instant or sorcery spell you control. There are huge instants and sorceries that you can copy with Mirrorpool, but this gets even better. 4 and a colorless, tap sacrifice Mirrorpool to put a token onto the battlefield that's a copy of target creature you control. These effects are so strong on a land. Many might complain about the entering the battlefield tapped and the colorless mana it produces. Those are real costs in many decks, but $1 is not a big cost for this land. Seagate Wreckage reduces some of that. It comes into play untapped. It produces colorless mana, and every so often you can turn it into just draw a card. If you end up empty-handed, 3 mana tap, draw a card is amazing on a land. The value on this is crazy, and the price is even crazier. There are a few cards like the other set that didn't really go down, that are kind of plateaued for forever, and that's Zendikar Resurgent at 60 cents and Kozilek the Great Distortion at 350. They've had a little bit of different movement. A lot of the lands and stuff that I've been talking about kind of dipped off at the end of Standard, but these kind of always had suppressed pricing. And I think they're great. Zendikar Resurgent is a slam dunk in many decks, and Kozilek is so powerful and unique, you might just want to pick one up, because if you ever do want to run a colorless deck or an Eldrazi deck, you're going to want this awesome card. And speaking of the Eldrazi, there are a lot of them in this set, and they're very unique, and you just might want to pick a few up because they're not going to be any cheaper. And we've seen them be really successful in other formats. Modern Legacy had an Eldrazi deck at the time. So if you ever thought that you might want to make an Eldrazi deck, you might want to pick up a bunch of them now, because you'd hate to want to build one later on down the road when we get another cool Eldrazi and other formats have priced you out of building the deck you want to build. So that concludes a lot of the cards that are rotating that I feel like are good buys or ones you should be aware of for trading. I think trading right now is great because a lot of Standard players are going to move these to a different part of their binder, and you're going to open up some great Ixalan card that has really inflated value, and you can trade it away for some of these awesome cards that will really be powerful for a long time. Also, if you're planning on ordering some of these cards online or going to your local game store to buy them, why don't you keep a lookout for some super budget cards from this set? Goblin Dark Dweller, Sire of Stagnation, Bring to Light, Aelie Eternal Pilgrim, Jorian Ruin Diver, General Tazri, Zadahedron Grinder, Noyandar Royal Shaper. These are awesome cards between 25 cents and $1. Many of them are legendary creatures that could be at the helm of a deck, especially if new cards come out that really synergize well with them. I particularly like the cards that give you real good card advantage and flexibility. Goblin Dark Dwellers and Bring to Light let you play cards out of your deck or from your graveyard. They're really flexible and very inexpensive. And Sire of Stagnation is a mythic that does a great impression of Consecrated Sphinx. Not a great impression, a serviceable impression, but is kind of a gross cool card that's so inexpensive. So this is another sign of the weird expedition effect. All of the sets that were sold, all of the high value cards caused a real shift in pricing. So I don't think that a lot of these cards are going to jump up to $20, but they're awesome and they're so cheap. So go buy some of them, stick them in your decks, and have fun with powerful, cheap cards that are awesome in our format. Stay tuned for another video where I go over the next two sets that are rotating out of Standard. This has been a video from Jumbo Commander. I hope you enjoyed it and got excited about some cards. I'm also excited about these cards, but I can't help but think about Ixalan. So click here if you want to see a deck tech for Tishana from the new Ixalan set, and stay tuned for even more Commander content.